Stephanie Thomas is a 25-year commercial escrow officer with Commonwealth land title, National Commercial Services, located in Louisville, Kentucky. She covers the entire state of Kentucky and even nationally. You're listening to Closing Market Weekly, the show where real estate closings meet real world insight. With your host, Phillip Hogan. And every week we break down the trends, tools, and the timing that keeps deals moving forward. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Phillip Hogan, your host to Closing Market Weekly, the CEO to Signing Services of America, and the author to my book, Relentless Excellence, a story of family, business building, and value-driven leadership. And welcome to another episode. We have a guest who is kind of shy. And I told her, don't worry about it because my audience likes shy people. And we're just going to give her a quick introduction and bring her to the stage and go ahead and get rid of those jitters and get right into it. Stephanie Thomas is a 25-year commercial escrow officer with Commonwealth land title, National Commercial Services, located in Louisville, Kentucky. She covers the entire state of Kentucky and even nationally. She can help coordinate your out-of-state commercial or multi-site transactions. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And, you know, I was excited when we discovered that you were a commercial escrow officer and we wanted to find someone who could really plug that need that we had because our audience needs to know, right? What's the differences between a commercial escrow officer versus a residential officer? They need to know. And so with 25 years of experience, I believe that you're the right person who can answer some of those questions. So we're going to get right into a few questions that I prepared. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Great. How does commercial escrow officer differ from residential commercial officer? What does most of the industry not realize about the complexity involved in your day-to-day work?
Big difference is there's a lot more parties involved. Usually in residential, you have maybe one or two sellers and one or two buyers, and realtors and a lender. Mm-hmm. Commercial, you have entities involved and there's a lot of investors and members in each entity. Mm-hmm. And then everybody usually has an attorney. The buyer usually has an attorney, the seller usually has an attorney, and even the lender has an attorney. And then, of course, you have brokers. So you just have a lot of people involved in the process.
So all of those people are at the signing at the same time, or do they sign different documents at the same time? How does that work?
Commercial is also unique because a lot of times you don't have people in the same area. Like you have people in different states. Like more times than not, you have buyers and sellers in different states. And so you usually don't even have a traditional round table closing in commercial. Mm-hmm. Usually you have the seller signing wherever they are with their attorney usually, and the buyer signs with their attorney. And then they send all the documents in and we hold them in escrow until we have all originals. And then once everybody agrees, they all sign off and then you can, fund and record documents.
So that's why you said we said in your bio that there are multi-site transactions, so that there are multiple signers in multiple states that are involved in one transaction and everybody signs at different times.
Yeah. And then we pick a closing date and we coordinate and then we have all of the originals come back, on a certain day. And then once we compile all the documents, everybody reviews them, then we can fund the transaction.
That's an enormous amount of work.
It is. It's a lot of communication, a lot of coordination. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So listen, as you're describing the answer to my question, what came up is that, well, what got you involved in the commercial side of escrow opposed to the residential?
I was in residential for years. I started in residential, and then I came across a company. They said, "Hey, we need like a commercial escrow assistant." So I started as like an assistant, and that's kind of how I got my feet wet in commercial.
And so you came from residential to commercial, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And so what was it about the commercial that drew you so much that you said, listen, I got a home here and I'm going to go and stay and learn all I can and spend it. And how long have you worked on the commercial side?
I've been where I'm at for 2 years and probably like 5 years.
Okay. So 5 years in total, you've worked on the commercial side. So is there one thing and out of all that you've learned that really, drew you and to the point that you said, okay, I'm going to stay in here? Or was it just a number of things? Whichever they are, please list those.
To me, it might sound weird, but I think commercial is easier.
Okay.
I don't know. I know there's a lot more coordination, a lot more communication.
Right.
But it just, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes residential is fast paced, It's like you get a contract, clear, close, let's close, let's close, let's close. Commercial is more drawn out. Like the average commercial file, it takes 6 to 18 months. So
really? Wait a minute, 6 to 18 months for it to close?
Yes, usually. Some can close, within a few months, but it's usually 6 to 18 months on average.
Wow.
So I like that it's not fast paced.
Right. See, that's why we wanted you to come to the show, because we knew that you got all this great information that our audience wants to hear. So let me ask you another question. As part of Fidelity National Financial's title group, how does being backed by that scale shape the way you're able to serve commercial clients compared to a smaller independent title operation?
Well, we're a national company, so we have offices all over the country. So if you're like in the state of Kentucky and you're like, I want to buy a piece of property, I don't know, in New York, I mean, we have the resources. You can still deal directly with me, but I can get you, I can still close your deal. But I can get like the title work. Like I can work with my local New York office to get the title work and everything. And we are the direct decision makers. So you'll always have like a timely answer. And we have combined 100 years of experience.
Right.
More than likely somebody somewhere has seen this problem.
Right.
Sometimes problems come up and you're like, have you ever seen this before? And usually, somebody has.
Right. That's great.
And wire fraud's a big one. So we've got high level of cybersecurity. So you don't have to worry about, funds going to the wrong place.
I'm so glad you talked about that, because a lot of my guests have been on the show talking about wire fraud. And, I don't think we can just get enough attention to such a very delicate topic such as wire fraud and how to mitigate against it. You want to give a plug?
It's scary. It actually happened to me once, not where I currently am, but I think it was a realtor's email got hacked and they spoofed my email. So it looked like it was coming from me and they asked the buyer to wire money and he did.
Right. Oh gosh. So then any suggestions that you want to offer and how to avoid being hacked or being spoofed?
You just gotta, it's tricky. Like they're getting smarter. You just have to watch your emails and say, is this a legit email or is this not? Right.
And that's the primary one, right? That's the gate opener, right? Is really reading that email, taking your time and reading the email and making sure that it's an authentic email from a genuine sender. And not just some spoof stuff. Sometimes we go through our emails and open, click, and we assume that it's a good email. And oops, that's the hot one, right? Okay, we got another question. So what's the most complicated commercial closing you've worked and what made it challenging?
We had a closing on a shopping center, an existing shopping center. It's been around for 30 years. It was a local shopping center. And we got the survey and we looked at the setback lines. So the parking lot, per the restrictions, the parking lot was supposed to be, I think, 10 feet beyond the setback line. And I think the survey said it was like 8 feet. So like 2 feet off. But that the shopping center had been there for years and nobody has like protested it or anything and said, hey, this is 2 feet off. So we had to get creative. We actually issued an endorsement and saying, okay, we will protect you because this hasn't been an issue in 30 years. So we had to get very creative to, okay, how can we get this to close and how can we ensure this?
So then, okay, that's great. And so you had to get creative. Who were some of the creators to create that came together to build this creation?
We have a phenomenal underwriter, and then we have like a special underwriter. He sits in Ohio, but he's brilliant, and he just reviewed all of the documents and said, "Look, we can do this.
Okay.
Like it's hasn't been an issue in 30 years, and yeah, this is the language we could use to ensure this."
So that really that's a great example that ties back into your first answer, which is that you've been around, Fidelity National Title's been around for hundreds of years. And, you guys have, done so many different transactions. You guys have so many different pros that work within the different departments, within the mortgage, within the title space, that this problem was just a minor thing for you guys.
Yeah, like we all collaborate, and we put our heads together and be like, okay, have you seen this? Like, what do you think? And what can we do here?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And since you all work for the same company, there's no, kind of like fear of like, why, I don't want to help you because you're my competitor or what. It's just like, we're all down for Fidelity National Title. So everybody's willing to, push in to help a colleague in another part of the country resolve a problem, right?
Yeah, we have a great group of people. Like we're all great, and we collaborate very well together. Yes. That's
wonderful. That's a nice place to work. So here, we've got another question for you. You ready?
Yes.
Let's go. What's a mistake you see lenders, buyers, or attorneys make when they're new to commercial real estate transactions?
Commercial, there's a lot of red tape, a lot of due diligence. Like you have to get zoning and environmental and phase 1 and check out the land use restrictions. And a lot of times it's on a timeline. You have so many days to check the zoning. You have so many days to run environmental.
Right.
So I guess you can't really drop the ball. You have to be on it. I mean, even though it takes 6 to 18 months, there's a lot of prep work to get to even the closing table.
And so a question that I came up after in listening to you is that, well, who is responsible for monitoring all the work that needs to be done, and sort of like going down a checklist of people that would be doing it, who would be responsible for fulfilling those duties?
That's why when you get a buyer, it's always recommended, to get an attorney to help with your transaction, because they can help you with the contracts. They can help you with the due diligence, and they can be like, okay, we've got 45 days to get this done.
So that's a great answer. And thank you for that. And so as the commercial escrow officer, if a file is assigned to you, are you the person who's responsible for outlining the things that need to be done and ensuring that they're done and you follow up?
No, there's attorneys working behind the scenes to get it all the way to the closing. So generally I don't come in until they're like there'll be a contract on it, and then I'll go ahead and order the title work, because that's part of their due diligence too. And so then I'll issue a title commitment, and then there's all these attorneys, doing their due diligence and, all of their stuff that they're supposed to do. And then, so sometimes I'll issue a commitment, and then I won't hear anything till 30 days later. And then I'll get a letter. It's called a title objection letter from the buyer's attorney. And they're like, I reviewed the commitment, this and this and this. The attorney reviews the title commitment, and there'll be exceptions to the policy, like easements, utility easements, access easements. Right. And a lot of times the attorney's like, well, we don't think that, this should be on there. And then, so then they send you a letter of what things need to be addressed on your title commitment.
Okay, so the attorney is sort of like the lead on a particular file, and they're responsible for ensuring that what needs to be done and that it's been done by a particular person in that particular area. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Got you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for answering that question.
At that point, that's where a surveyor comes in. You very rarely, if you see maybe small commercial, but usually shopping centers, you're always going to get a survey. So our title commitment will report what's on title, like easements, utility easements. And then the surveyor actually goes to the property, maps out where said easements are. And sometimes like our commitment will have an easement or like a land use restriction because you don't really know where it is until the surveyor tells you. So we rely on surveys. And the surveyor tell us, well, this does not affect your property or this affects your property.
I see. Very interesting. Audience, that's why I love the work that I do, because I get an opportunity to talk with so many bright people who are making a difference in the title space. And Stephanie is just one of them who is coming onto the show and giving us the inside scoops as what goes on with the commercial real estate transaction. All right. For someone coming from residential escrow who wants to move into commercial work, what should they expect that's genuinely different?
Back to what I said, you don't traditionally have a round closing table, like a sit down closing. So it's more coordination with the parties, and obviously, more longer time periods, more parties, and more money.
Stephanie, please share with our audience, what are some of the local market trends that you've seen as a commercial escrow officer?
Right now, there's a lot of multifamily, so apartments. Those are very popular. There's some new ones, but there's a lot of resales as well. Data centers are a really big one. We just did a closing on some land that is going to be a proposed data center that takes a little bit extra underwriting. You have to verify the zoning and, make sure all of your easements are there. That one took at least 18 months to close. It was a lot of due diligence on that one. And then in like Western and Eastern part of Kentucky, not so much Louisville, a lot of industrial, like factories and stuff like that. But that's like the three main ones.
So for those that's in the audience that are real estate investors, let's just go ahead and listen to the pro who works on the title side that's pulling back the curtains about what's going on with real estate in state of Kentucky. So let's go through that list. You said that the first one that's begun to show a lot of traction is what again?
Multifamily, like apartments.
Right.
Yeah, multifamily. Yes.
Is there a certain
That's
size?
A really big one.
A certain size of multifamily apartments? It could be from two units all the way up, or is a specific segment of the multifamily apartment?
I've been seeing a lot of like large multifamilies.
Okay, good. So
like
large
30
multifamily
plus units. Yes.
Got you. Okay, wonderful. Great. And okay, great. That's one. That's the first category. Second one is data centers. Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Now, so are people buying land and building data centers, or are they just Okay, great. All right, wonderful. And then the third was what again?
Industrial, like factories.
Okay.
Yes.
So investors are buying land, building factories, and then bringing in the companies to work in these factories.
Correct. Yes.
That's wonderful. So not only is revenue coming into the state of Kentucky, but also there's housing that is obviously being made available for those people who are coming into the state, or those who are already there that want to work in that particular area where a data center is being built.
Yes.
That's good stuff. Okay, guys. Hey, listen, you heard it straight. You heard it straight from Stephanie Thomas in regard to what's happening in Kentucky on the real estate investing side. And so we left the last question, a fun question for Stephanie to answer. And Stephanie, please, I'm dying to hear, how did you get started in the title industry?
The thing about the title industry, it's such a unique, line of business. Like you're like, I'm in the title business, and they're like, what is that? Like,
Right.
So you either like happen upon it by accident, or maybe you just like grew up in it. I was the latter. My mom had worked for title underwriter since the 70s. It was like her co-op job. So in the 90s, which I'm showing my age here, when they used to have like take your daughter to work day.
Yeah.
I just remember going in, and then as I got older, they would give me certain little tasks to do, and I just like grew up in it.
That's nice.
And then, fast forward 10 years, she had an agent that needed help like mailing out title policies. So then I was home from college and did that, and then which turned into typing title policies, which turned into typing commitments, and then I got like a full-time job typing commitments, and then eventually I went to escrow right in 2008, right after the refinance boom. There was a lot of short sales. I don't know if you remember short sales.
I do.
Yeah, I would negotiate them, and then that's how I got into escrow. Like once I got them approved to close, I would do the escrow on it. So so I started out with like heavily on the title background, and then I worked my way up to escrow.
Wow.
But I could do them both interchangeably. Escrow is more straightforward, money in, money out,
right?
Numbers and figures.
Right.
And title's a little more abstract. Sometimes you have to, think outside the box. But I like them both equally. And sometimes, it's like, do I have a title brain today or do I have an escrow brain today? Because they're vastly different sometimes.
Yeah. So you have to be prepared, right, for either whatever's presented before you so that you can accomplish the task, right?
Yes.
And so, okay, so is that some advice that you would give to, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing, by the way. Is that some advice that you would give or leave for someone who's interested in working in the title space? That you got to be prepared to, for different scenarios that will pop up any time of the day, any day of the week?
Yeah, you got to put your title brain on sometimes.
So then, okay, so does that mean, well, what comes to mind for me is that you somewhat work in a controllable, unpredictable space.
Yes.
And so that kind of like really get your blood going, huh?
Yes.
That's okay. I'm like that as well. The owner of Signing Service America, every day is predictable, but within that predictability zone, there's some things that are just, unknown, unfound, or can go kind of like off. So you got to kind of like be prepared to, deal with some things over here that are going well, but then deal with this moment of madness, if you will, because things are not going as you planned. And you just have to be able to have the mindset to do those things. So I admire you for being able to have that type of mindset and to have found something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize, they go to closing and buy a house and like, they're like, okay. And they don't realize, like, people don't realize title issues that come up.
Right.
And that's what the whole purpose of title insurance is. We clear it and, to protect you. Like sometimes there's, deceased people back in the chain and like people didn't, or a spouse didn't convey out their interest. Then you're like getting creative or trying to track down people that own the house, like, 3 owners ago and be like, hey, I need you to sign this deed to sign over your interest. Like people don't think about that. But yeah, the average file, I think not all files are clear. I mean, I get excited when a clear one comes through my desk, but that's not always the case.
Not always the case. And, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that's part of the reason why I started Closing Market Weekly, because many people many homeowners, investors, those that work within the title industry don't really understand what does title do, right? And particularly homeowners, particularly first-time homeowners, which are a lot of my audience. And so when they come to the signing table, they have a stack of documents. They're expecting to see, just maybe some loan documents, but all these additional title related documents, they're surprised. And unfortunately, many homeowners don't take the time to really digest what the contents of those title documents are and the power that those title documents have. So I'm happy that you shared that. And I hope that those that are in my audience are listening very closely as to what Stephanie talked about. Pay attention to those documents before you're at the signing, right? And so when you get to the signing, you're educated signer and educated buyer. Okay, well, listen, Stephanie. So again, I just want to say it's been a delight to meet you. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Thanks for having me. Yes.
Oh my goodness. You lit up the stage. I'm telling you, you dropped some real nuggets here for our audience. I hope they caught it and that they'll be using it. And again, if someone would like to contact you, Stephanie, would you please leave the one source of contact you would like to share?
Again, I have my email, which is stephanie.c.thomas@fnf.com. I also have a phone number of 502-302-7990. And I'm usually the one that answers the phone. So
Okay.
you'll always get me.
All right, great. Well, audience, if you want to contact Stephanie, she's left her email and her telephone number. And like she says, you give her a call, she'll answer. And so we'll leave it there for now. And again, thank you for being my guest on Closing Market Weekly. And for my audience, please like, share, and follow. And tell a friend who is needs to know about us and help them to become a member of our community. Thank you so much again, Stephanie, for being on the show. And you have a wonderful
Thank you.
day.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for tuning in to the Closing Market Weekly. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone in the industry. For more insights from the front lines of real estate closings, we'll see you next week.